What's going on, fellow pepper lovers? It's Pepper Wolverine over here in Illinois land, enjoying some, I guess, some quiet time at home, which I don't get too often, and getting ready to do a review of something called the Khangsta Red. It's a, in reality, it's a four-way cross, but three of the genetics are in one of the parent plants, which is the Brazilian Ghost. Crossed with a MOA Scotch Bonnet. These came from Khang Starr of the pepper lovers community on G+. He was nice enough to gift me some seeds, and I kept those, and I grew out a couple of them. Had issues with two of them when I put them outside, but I kept one in an air garden in my basement for about 160 days, and then I pulled it out here in the garage to put it under some different lighting in preparation to putting it in a very large outdoor Kratky. But subsequently, the issues that I have in my outdoor garden, I probably inadvertently, either probably by physical touch to the plant, transferred some spider mites to it and had to chop it down significantly. A couple days ago, I harvested quite a few pods off of it, and it's sitting here behind me. I know there's some clutter in the background, but I'm not going to put a whiteboard behind it to see the plant. There's still a couple of pods on it. I trimmed it way back, really just to harvest the last couple pods on it, because all of these were pollinated in isolation, and there's still a couple interesting phenos on the plant. It's not far enough along in the genetic stage for it to be completely stable, so there's some different genes going on in it, like this as an example. This one looks like part of the Moruga physical characteristics from the Brazilian ghost strain, which was like a Moruga, a ghost, I think it was a scorpion. I don't remember right now. I didn't do my homework before I started this, but we got some phenos like this, some phenos like this, and the ones that I'm most interested in are a little bit smaller, but are kind of a combination of those two. Kind of the Scotch bonnet shape with a slight Moruga shape, and then going out into the tail, which is the scorpion portion of the one parent plant of the Brazilian Ghost, which is, like I said, a three-way portion, and then the introduction of the MOA Scotch bonnet. So yeah, I got quite a few smaller pods. Not a big surprise, being an indoor air garden plant, so the root structure was physically limited by the base of the air garden. I brought it outside and put it in a 5-gallon bucket, like I said, in anticipation of continuing it, but I've run into some issues, but there's some good phenos on that, so I'm going to let those ripen before I terminate the plant. But the most important thing is we can move this on to F5, as what I have is our F4s, and go from there. So I'm going to look through here for a second and see a good candidate for doing a taste test. I know a gentleman I like to consider a friend, Peter Stanley, just recently did a taste test of these, pod review, but his pods were significantly different in shape. At first I thought that I had maybe made a mistake and mislabeled, but no, I'm positive I did not. And I went back and checked all my grow logs, labels, everything. I do not believe that I made a mistake, so. It's not the biggest pod, but I like this one. This is the pheno I'm gonna save seeds of, and continue to grow out and maybe share with a couple people. We'll see. So we got this one. Nice shape to it. A little bit of a stinger, as you can see. My trusty pepper knife. I know it's still sharp because I've done nothing with it. So cutting through it, I can already tell that it's a medium wall pepper because it didn't slice through it like paper. Initial aroma, fruity. A little bit floral, but more fruity than floral. I ate a couple of these already, and what I noticed is there's very few seeds in these. This one is about the same. Yeah, medium wall pepper. You see the white placental tissue going around the inner ridges of the actual pepper. Not a whole lot of seeds in there. A couple of the others that were very similar to this, might have gotten 6 to 8 seeds out of it. Much like some of the mixture in the cross from the Brazilian Ghost, immediately floral. As soon as you bite into it, it just explodes with a floral essence. And if you look at the stem, a couple of people have asked me, hey, what's going on with your garden? How do you know what it is? Well, when you see stems like this that have been darkened, they're not a really healthy green, or bright green, I should say, and get darkened, it should be an immediate red flag. There's something going on in your garden. Typically it's a mite infestation. That's what I was dealing with. The floralness of the pepper is already subsiding as I bit through everything and got through it. Immediate heat all the way around the insides of my lips. That's hot. Interesting. It's a bite to it like a scorpion. People that are familiar with scorpions know about the sting that it has. Just an immediate sting. It's got the floralness from the moruga for sure. A hair of sweetness on the back side of it, maybe from the Scotch bonnet portion of it. It's pretty humid out today here where I am, so I was already close to sweating because I'm continuing to prep my garden for introducing a couple thousand ladybugs. So I was already almost sweating. But that just immediately put beads of sweat on my forehead. Immediately. For those of you that don't know me very well, this is one of my favorites. Anything that they make. Probably because that was one of the first things I had 25 years ago. When you grow up in Louisville, Kentucky, and you got a place called Richo's right across the border in Cincinnati, don't card very hard. You can go over there and enjoy some West Coast craft beer before anyone in the Louisville area could. So Sierra Pale Ale was my first introduction to craft beer, and I've stuck with them ever since, and the Bigfoot barley wine is one of my favorites. Plus, you know, when in the middle of the wintertime, my kids tell me I look like Bigfoot because I just let this stuff grow out like the human chia pet. So the heat went from the lips to the covering the entire inside of the mouth, including the tongue. It's like pins and needles poking around everywhere. Good amount of salivation. Quite a bit of sweat. This pepper's got a good amount of heat. And I know it's going to linger because I ate one of them last night with dinner. And even eating it with food with my dinner, it stuck with me for a longer than anticipated period of time. And it's still climbing. It hasn't peaked yet. I mean, imagine had I ate this, I probably would have blown myself up. I'm going to keep this one for seeds too and grow this out as a separate project, just given the moruga bonnet shape of it. The good thing about these is they're all isolated seeds. I know they're true. It's one advantage of growing indoors in a tent. Slowly starting to move back to the esophagus. Yeah, and it's just barraging me with heat. I've mentioned this in a couple of previous videos. When I start getting to a point where it's not a manageable heat, or a specific type of heat associated with certain peppers, I start getting a little bit of ringing in my ears. And I'll rate those from nothing up to 5. This is definitely starting to put a 1.5 to 2 alarm fire in my ears. I mean, the lower earlobes are ringing. I mean, they feel numb. The flavor, now that I guess maybe the after flavor, is really good. It's got a sweet tone to it. Even though the scorpion and moruga heat, well, and the ghost, I guess, for that matter, are really attacking on the tongue and the mouth. When you ignore those, the flavor that's left in the salivation of your mouth, it's quite enjoyable, actually. I could throw half a dozen of these in some homemade salsa with tomatillos, maybe 1 red pepper and a bunch of garlic, and my fresh cilantro from the garden. This would be cat's meow salsa. Sweat's not stopping. Wow. Wet sleeve from Sweat. Big tall plant behind me, finishing off some of the pods. That thing is 4 feet tall. When I actually pulled it out of my 2 foot by 4 foot by 5 foot tent, I couldn't believe how big it was. That it was actually consuming or utilizing the entire space of the tent. It had just blown up. This will definitely remain on my grow list. While there's just so many peppers out there to enjoy, you never know how much you're going to enjoy one until you eat it. And some people just want to blow themselves up with heat, and that's cool. I like flavor as well. I don't like floral, and I have a hard time with a lot of chocolate super hots just for that reason. For whatever reason, they seem to hit me differently and have just a overwhelming floral nature to them. That earthy tone. The earthy tone is okay, but then they just subside into floral. This had an initial floral, but it subsided very quickly as the heat consumed and took over my mouth. Opened up the sinus passage for sure. I mean, I think I can smell what my neighbor's cooking. It smells like steak. But the salivation that's left in the mouth is sweet from the Scotch Bonnet, with a very, very nice flavor. These peppers would do very well just to make a hot sauce with only these peppers, nothing else, in terms of a single hot pepper sauce, and then other ingredients to your liking, what flavors you like. I might pull all the seeds from these and make a hot sauce with these, and I'll just send a bottle on to Mr. Khang and see if he likes it, since he shared the seeds with me and he didn't have to. So, Khang Starr of the Pepper Lovers community, thank you. I appreciate it. Some great peppers. Good amount of heat. I mean, it's up there. It gave me almost some goosebumps and some tingles on the tongue, and some ear alarm fires that, from my experience, at least on paper, it's got to be something above the 1 million Scoville units, or at least around there. It's a darn good pepper. Those of you that were lucky enough to get some seeds of this non-commercial pepper, these seeds are never for sale. They're not for profit, and they should always have Starr's name on them. These are great peppers. It's a great addition to anyone's arsenal of peppers. So I'll be more than happy to share seeds of these. But anyone I share seeds with, you cannot sell them, and they have to bear Starr's name, because he's a pretty big influence on YouTube, and he's the founder of a pepper lovers community. Deserves a great amount of respect for some of the mad scientist crosses that he does. Khang, thanks for sharing this with me. Hope you guys have enjoyed this take from the Pepper Wolverine, enjoying a Khangsta Red F4, the Brazilian Ghost times MAO Scotch Bonnet. Thanks, guys. We'll do this again soon.